Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Co-Creation Nation. My name is Troy Blankenship. Of course, if you don't know me, I am one half of this complete operation, and with me is my co-host. What's that?
I'm calling you the best half.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But here's my other half. I was going to say my better half. My co-host Lauren Hall. So Lauren, how are you?
I'm doing great, Troy. I am happy and so excited to be back. Team Nation, thanks so much for participating, sharing your time with us. And we truly hope you're getting value and having fun listening to me and Troy and the interesting guests or clients that we have brought on to talk about hypnosis, the thing we are super passionate about.
Yeah, and we were just talking yesterday, as a matter of fact, last night, about this whole idea, this whole concept of what we wanted to build out as a podcast, right? And how this all started a couple of months ago, and now on Facebook, on our Co-Creation Nation fan page, right? We have almost 300 people, after just a couple of short months, following Co-Creation Nation and following what we do and watching our videos and listening to our podcast. And I just think that's remarkable. And that's what we hoped. I mean, we knew that there were people out there that wanted to find better pathways, find more natural ways to move forward and better themselves and grow and just improve upon their life and have a better quality of life and things like that. And I think it's a testament to, the idea that we both had for this concept. And now it's like, it's amazing that so many people have resonated with, with what we talk about and our episodes and our podcasts and our personalities. And it really is a special thing. It's a special thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I had told you before, Troy, and I think you had the same sentiment that the thing that we do and the effort we put into, studying and becoming, better and better, because neither of us have ever stopped and probably never will stop in education with hypnosis and the other sort of mind influencing effective strategies. And if we helped one person, it would be worth it. And, now we have a couple hundred people who are following and interacting with us in that Facebook community. And it is so exciting because our whole idea, I mean, we were kind of surprised that there wasn't something already out there like this that was bringing the real client stories. I understand there's some podcasts that are really great with hypnotic imagery. And then there are some that are more maybe insider industry based that really dive into some of the science, but there wasn't one that bridged the gap. Mm-hmm. And that's what our attention is. And guys out there listening, give us some feedback and help us understand. Are we hitting that mark? Do you want to hear different sort of things from us? Because we're here to serve you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, one of the ideas that we always had, when we started this Co-Creation Nation and this podcast was this, this whole idea, this whole concept, this whole show, is operating on what our audience wants, on what they want us to talk about, on what topics they would like to learn more about. They're just as much of this process.
Yes.
Moving forward as the two of us are.
That's what our goal is, to have a guest who's always here with us. So today, when it's just us, the guest is truly our audience. So guys, we are talking to you and we will be so excited when you talk to us through any sort of platform. You can even message us on an email. We have a website, hypnosisinaction.com. So you can contact us just through the email if you want to be exclusive, anonymous and all of that, and just give us some feedback.
That's right. And speaking of guests, I'm so excited about today because our guest on the podcast is none other than our Co-Creation Nation co-host, Lauren Hall. Or I should say, our Co-Creation Nation, the great Lauren Hall.
That's a giant title.
So I will be interviewing Lauren today because we thought it would be a really great idea to get her backstory as to where she came from, who she is as a person, what got her involved and interested in hypnosis, and what is her day-to-day operations like now in terms of running a successful hypnosis practice and a successful hypnosis business. Mm-hmm. And so I have been so excited since we came up with this idea and concept, just not that long ago. Yeah. And I was like, I can't wait for this show, this episode, because this is where I get to ask her any questions that I'm really excited to ask. So I'm super excited to re-welcome, I guess I should say, my co-host, Lauren Hall.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no, this is exciting. Aren't you excited to explain your story?
Well, maybe not as excited as you. You're in the interviewer chair, so I don't know what questions you have in mind, but I'm very willing to be, transparent, open. And also, this podcast is not an opportunity for me to just talk about myself or to try to convince you guys how I am possibly great, like Troy's telling me that I am. It's to provide
But
value
you
to
are.
you,
You are.
to help um, demystify any sort of conception you might have had about who a hypnotist is or what a hypnotist life must be like, or who might be a type of person who later finds themselves in a hypnotist's role. So yeah, Troy, well, yeah, we've known each other a few months, and you know me really well. We spent a lot of time together virtually, not that much time yet in person, but I think you, like the audience, will hear some of my story, or at least have a good conversation.
Well, let's start from the very beginning. So let's go back to even before you were, interested, or even before you got involved in, just having the idea of
Mhm.
maybe opening up a hypnosis practice. So where were you in your life back then?
Yeah, I mean, hypnosis, I've said this, in several videos, it was not the plan. Um, I never would, I never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was kind of jealous. Like, even in kindergarten, my friends would say, "Oh, a firefighter, a ballerina." Like, I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I didn't put much thought into it in kindergarten. But, in high school, when you start thinking about colleges, you start really, thinking things through. And I thought, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be successful.
Mhm.
My sister and me laugh about that now because she's like, "Lauren, who doesn't want to be successful?" And I'm like, "No, but I want big success, like a family." Like, that wasn't my priority. Mine was to really make an impact. I was always a curious person. I loved learning. I love reading. I love science. Um, my older sister is an engineer, and I just didn't want to be an engineer. That didn't seem exciting. So when I'm in college and the aptitude tests, they were really all over the place. A doctor, a truck driver, a scientist, inventor, and I'm an artist. I had always wanted to take art classes, but my electives, the way that the schools I was in, I never got into art. So I always did like band or sports, but I really wanted to study art because I love, even now, just painting. So when I'm in college, I don't know what I'm going to do. I end up in business. So have a degree in marketing because that was a pretty generalized path, and the guidance counselors who I had become very familiar with because I'm really in there all the time, taking those tests and reading books and just trying
Sure.
to feel what would be the best thing for me. Therapist came up a fair number of times, and I always rejected that one. I thought, I don't want to be a therapist. That sounds draining. It sounds like I would lose my sparkle. Because me, Trey, you and I have talked about this. We're the type of people, like, we go into a grocery store, maybe not now in COVID, but maybe pre-COVID, when you could see more facial expressions. And sometimes people just open up to us,
Mhm.
very present for people. We're great listeners. So people thought, "Wow, Lauren, do therapy." Like, no, thank you. That is not what I want to do. So I got excited about business, had some great internships. I mean, I worked with Disney and NASCAR. I had a really cool internship with public relations. So even with NASCAR, like, I was traveling around to all the races, and I thought, wow, maybe, marketing will be a fun career. So I got a job in Hearst magazines, which was a very sort of fancy, exciting job because in North Carolina, uh, I grew up in a lot of small towns. Like, we moved around every couple of years. And so I always had this dream for a big city. And so now that I had this kind of big city job and I got to do traveling and talk with magazine editors, I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I could just see my path, to executive. But after just a few months, I really started to lose my sparkle. I'm just a happy, bubbly person. Like, I'm very easily satisfied. And I could feel inside uh, that things were sort of really getting, let's say, under motivated.
Mhm.
I had all this freedom. I had started at that corporation like a social club, so we would put together little like events, art parties where I would sell like some of the jewelry and stuff that I would make. So I was very fulfilled. I had a garden at home, pets. I would go kayaking every weekend, but because I knew I wanted to put my passion into my career, and I wasn't feeling like my passion was making a difference in that big magazine industry, it just was immediately obvious that I couldn't stay there forever. So I left my corporate job, which terrified my mom. And I went into real estate because that, my family's sort of in real estate. And they were supportive of that. I initially was really excited and I was really successful. I didn't understand at the time much of what I was doing, but because I'm a hard worker and just personable, I created some teams. We had some great revenue. Like we moved our way, our team up to the top. And I was excited, but that same sense of like lacking started to creep in.
Mhm.
And while I was a realtor, my office manager suggested I watch the movie The Secret. Not because she felt like I had a missing soul's mission, but she just had watched it and she thought it was interesting. So I watched it. It changed my world. Have you seen that movie about the law of attraction?
Yeah, I remember when that came out, and it was all the rage. I mean, yeah, of course, I had to go see it.
Yeah. Did you see it in the theater?
Let's see, I don't think I saw it in the theater. I saw it when it came out on DVD. So
Okay. I
I
don't
bought the DVD and brought it home.
know. Yeah. I probably watched it on Netflix. I think it goes on and off of Netflix. I even bought the DVD and I have like lent it out to so many people. I think it broke. I've never had a DVD that's broken. Um, but the reason it was so impactful is because it sort of spoke to an inner reality that I had always believed, but just didn't have anybody else that I could talk with about it or who reinforced it. And the law of attraction is this idea that your thoughts are a tangible frequency and those interact with all other atoms of matter, and that you shift and shape the experiences that you want. You sort of draw in, maybe in a subconscious way, um, real literal experiences in all areas of life. So I, after that movie, dove into all the recommended reading. I was watching YouTube videos. I mean, probably like every person out there listening, how quick it is that you can go into a YouTube rabbit hole, with the suggested videos, right? So
I know that all too well.
yeah, I was learning, right, in quotations, getting more and more out there as far as being able to talk to the friends and family that I had, because we just didn't understand or see things in the same way. I mean, like I said, I was a generally happy person, and uh, my family, they're happy, but they also have, inner stuff and pain and drama. And
Mhm.
um, a sense of me wanted to help them with that, but I understood that the best way to help them is for me to be my best self. And so this information was the way for me to be my best self. So I started to apply, what I was learning through the law of attraction. And then the word hypnotism started coming up more and more. And I thought this was a really interesting word. But let me even back up before that, because during all of this was when I had what I was just telling you, Troy. Before that was what I call my Kundalini Awakening. And really that was,
And for those people who are listening and don't know what Kundalini is or what a Kundalini Awakening is, what
Mhm.
is this?
Well, we could call it it was at the time of my Saturn's return, so when I'm 27, and when Saturn comes back in rotation to the place it was when you were born, like a giant mirror, it's, said in astrology that it shows that reflection back to your soul. Are you in alignment with who your soul had said you would be and the mission you're, drawn here on earth to accomplish?
Hmm.
So the Kundalini is, is that the serpents that wrap up the medical staff.
Hmm.
I think, I hope I'm saying, I hope that that is what it is, but that's the way I interpret it. It's those serpents that wrap up, and those mean to um, be a graphic for the nerves that go up the spine. And so Kundalini energy runs from the base of the spine up to the crown. So if you think about the chakras in yoga, then it starts at the root chakra and goes all the way up to the crown chakra. And some have, I'm talking about the 7 scale chakras. Some have what I've seen hundreds of scales of chakras. So if my Kundalini was awakening and that's what was happening, then all of this power that we each possess as people that exists in our root was moving its way up to my crown. And because I was in discongruence with different areas of my life at that time, I had some disrupt. And that disrupt for me showed up as what was then diagnosed to me a mental illness.
Hmm.
And I don't open up to many people about it uh, because there's so much stigma. And now that I have this diagnosis in my record, like it will stay there forever, even though there is no medical test that you can take to have confirmation of mental illness. The theory is chemical imbalance in the brain, but we don't know what's happening in the brain. And so you really only get diagnosed if you have symptoms of psychosis, which I did. And we spent a couple of treatments in various behavioral health hospitals and was very compliant to all the prescribed remedies, the medications, the therapies. I mean, I can't even tell you how many doctors ask me, like, if I see or hear things that aren't there. And that wasn't what showed up for me. Instead, it was um, almost an expanded consciousness of, being really present to how I feel. So my emotions at that time, Troy, were a lot more unfiltered. Like I would be in a store and just start laughing or crying, which is not the way that an adult should act in public. And so it was a scary time for my family. It was a exhilarating time for me. I mean, I didn't experience depression until I was medicated. So the doctors had described me as bipolar with, I think it's bipolar type 2, something mania. I don't know. I'd have to look at my chart. And that was definitely a shifting point, because up until that time I had felt like, I've complied with society's model. I sat still in school, like I studied hard, I went to college, got a degree, like I tried the corporate route, like I was doing everything that society told me I should do to be happy. And then they tell me somehow my brain is broken, and I'm supposed to be on medication for the rest of my life. It just didn't sit with that truth that I had felt, that had been woken up, with that movie, The Secret, or let's say, confirmed with that movie, because I'd always felt this, that we are, truly powerful, and that we can be happy. I mean, people want great bodies or big houses or fancy titles, but they want those things so that they could be happy. And I'm like, why don't you just be happy right now here with what you have? And of course, you're going to be drawn and encouraged to evolve and achieve goals. So you're going to get all those things that you desire, but you start with the happiness.
So let's go back for a second. You had mentioned that as you were, going through and watching The Secret and resonating with this type of energy, the word hypnotist and hypnotism, it kept coming up. So what was it about, the word or that energy or whatever you want to call it? What was it about hypnosis, the practice of hypnosis that really made you, give it a second look and really get involved with, the practice of hypnosis?
Well, the way that it was being presented to me was very medical, and scientific. And up until then, I had thought hypnosis was really just a stage ruse,
Hmm.
some sort of like clever use of words, or, mental manipulation to get somebody to do something that was silly and non lasting. But, when I'm reading reports about hypnosis being a genuine therapy, then I think, whoa, why aren't more people talking about this? If we all understand how the mind is the realm of all things, and hypnosis is a tool to shift the mind, with intended outcome, why aren't we using this? Is it a negative thing? Do you have to have a certain type of brain in order to be hypnotized? I just got really enthralled with it, and was talking to my mom because I had read some things that I thought would be helpful for my family. So my sister at the time was going through infertility. She had wanted kids since we were like 10. And now that she was at a time of her life when she was ready to start her family and it wasn't happening, she was getting so discouraged. And I have always wanted to, support my sisters, to be happy. And that's not my responsibility, but that's a little of my journey myself too, is to like let go of the healer's role. So I wanted to help her have a family. And when I read about hypnosis working for fertility, I'm talking to my mom and she's like, well, why not? It can't hurt. So I got certified. Then getting my sister to participate was sort of the next hurdle.
Right.
But
Yeah, because when it comes to family, you're not the expert.
yeah, certainly. And, just sort of like the clients or the skeptics that we've had on to be interviewed, right, for the podcast, they're
Mhm.
kind of like, okay, show me that it works and then I'll do it. And it's, we might need it to happen the other way around, but she trusts me. And I mean, I remember like when I was studying, like I was really just going overboard into the ways I could use analogies to support her. I mean, I still have her script that I wrote. It's like several pages long, and it's all about like the root and the color red, and like feeling hydrated and how easy things will be. And anyway, so I did this one session with her, not even in an office, like on a couch somewhere. And she got pregnant the next month, and we were both sort of like, "Wow, what? Did the hypnosis work, or was it just natural biology?" Because she had tried for a couple of years, so that was exciting. And then I wanted to do natural childbirth, so I studied hypnobirthing, which I thought would be me in the room with her while she's delivering and using some sort of hypnosis analogy. Instead, I learned about childbirth, which I hadn't seen childbirth videos since middle school, right? And I never thought I wanted children until I took that course. So I was really just taking it for her. But that course really shifted a lot of perspectives for me as far as the consciousness of babies and how, you know, we as adults can find our best selves, and a child or family can help reflect, like, is that really genuine, or are we in some way like biased and distracted to a story that's protecting our ego. So I did hypnobirthing, and she was a little more resistant to that, but still she had two babies, both born naturally. She loved it. If she had more, she would do them natural again. So yeah, that was how hypnosis started to be the career that I moved in towards. And even when I was studying at Troy, I never thought that this is what I'm going to do to make a living. I was still sort of like, okay, after real estate, like what's next? I love nature, so I have the vision for like corporate composting, because when I was in corporate America, I was just appalled at how much coffee grounds like go into the trash. I don't know why. Just every morning I would see like 2 pounds of coffee grounds. And we were like in one floor on like a 50-tower building. And I'm like, man, this is one building in one city. I wanted composting to happen, and still do. So I thought, in some way I would endeavor there. When I read about Nikola Tesla studied hypnosis, and that was how it helped him with electricity, that was another um, incinerator to incinerator,
Motivator,
incinerator.
inspiration. He was your inspiration.
We can make up words as hypnotists. He is an inspiration, yes, that was like, wow, if he we still are amazed at the ideas that he had. And he was using hypnosis, and why has hypnosis been this thing that has sort of been scrutinized? Like, that's what to me kind of throws up red flags a little, because if you go on YouTube for a while, you'll eventually find yourself into conspiracy realms. And I find all that interesting. I really think it's fascinating that a ton of people have a belief about a thing. I mean, I just want to know why, and why also is it taboo to talk about this thing that a bunch of people apparently are believing. Um, so
Well,
yeah.
so it gets me curious. So when you said that, when you first started learning about hypnosis, you learned, before you even got your certification,
Mhm.
and certainly before what you know now, right? It was like this very by the book scientific thing that was kind of marginalized or pushed aside. So knowing what you know now, like, what is the bridge between, that old, like, when you call it like a stigma, right? When you call it like this, it's only like one dimensional, like, oh, hypnosis is just that silly stage show thing. It only is used for entertainment value or entertainment purpose. What's the difference between when you were first initially exposed to what hypnosis is, in those scientific books, or, a doctor, or whatever you learned initially? What's the difference between that and now how you run your practice and what you've come to believe about hypnosis as a viable practice?
I love that question. I think about it almost every couple of months. I sort of just find myself in a moment of pause, And I think, you know what? I've been studying basically the law of attraction, ever since that first introduction. And here I have uh, like dove into a very specific niched branch of a technique and modality to understand myself and to help apply onto other people how to resonate with the state of experiencing what they want versus where most people are, which is, feeling stuck or trapped in a state of what they don't want. So it's yeah, to me, I guess I'm doing the law of attraction. And I've seen some people who call themselves like law of attraction specialist or something like that. I always will call myself a hypnotist because to me that's, or, that is what we're doing. It doesn't matter what you call it, but I like people understanding that this is the roots of where these techniques that I'm using have come from. And who knows where it'll go in the future, and be before the 1800s when James Brain titled it. Who knows what it was called, but it really has always been a technique and a therapy.
So, in your opinion, then, why do you feel that hypnosis isn't, being recognized more in this country? I mean, I know that's one of the big reasons why we started this podcast and why we bring on experts and skeptics and things like this, and and even our past clients. But why do you feel like there's just this stigma about hypnosis still, in the broader sense in this country?
I think we scrutinize things we don't understand, and we, hypnosis works inside the mind, whether or not you realize it's happening or etc. And because we can't understand it, science doesn't know how to, dissect it or predict it, because no one hypnosis tool works every single time. And you and I know we have an arsenal, and the true tool is being present and client centered.
Yeah.
And because there's not this one size fits all or one script, has consistent um, results, we can't yet, I guess, as a society, um, back it, stand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're really getting there. I expect truly in this decade, we're just now in 2021, that it'll happen. That hypnosis will be sort of like what massage therapy is. Because massage therapy 20 years ago, right, was sort of like this underground. Not many people are doing it, or only the elite, something like that. And now it's everywhere, and it should be, because touch therapy, the microfacia, like holding on to emotional distress, like we know the science, and so we can support that as a true modality. I wanted hypnosis for myself too, for like smoking and weight loss.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, I was going to tell you that my interest in hypnosis was also for me. It wasn't only
Oh, yes, yes, of course.
like
Yeah, no,
you.
I understand. I know that there's, everyone wants to know. Everyone's so curious about what is a typical hypnosis session like, right? So your business, Modern Day Hypnosis, which you can find on the internet, right? moderndayhypnosis.com. When someone comes to you, Lauren, and they want to have a hypnosis session with you, what is the experience like? I understand, being in the profession, having a practice of my own, it's a very subjective experience for everybody. Everyone is, everyone has their own different, experience. But if you could give an overview as to what a typical hypnosis session looks like when someone comes to you
Yeah.
and modern day hypnosis, can you kind of give us a broad 30,000 foot view of what that might look like?
Well, I had said just a minute ago, we're airing this 2021. And, I've been doing this almost 10 years. I have definitely changed my process. So I expect my process will continue to change um, as I understand even more. I mean, I've taken several certifications and specialized trainings, but it's really client centered. So everything I continue to learn, I never uh, negate what it is that I know to do and what this person is telling me who's in front of me, what they need.
Hmm.
So it always starts with a conversation, some rapport building, some, nervousness diffusing. We're just talking and getting to understand that change is possible. Michael Ellner, who was a hypnotist who I heard speak once, who's passed away now, but he was amazing. He did so much for the AIDS movement in New York. If you guys want to research him and check him out, and it was really cool too. I had a talk with him once, sort of like, why isn't this more broadcasted? That people understand that there's some way that they could, get some support with AIDS instead of dying from AIDS, living with AIDS. That was
Hmm.
the way he would say it. And he was telling me, that they actually get more funding. And so I was like, okay, that there's some political agenda and whatnot. But I loved what Michael Ellner said, and then he's written a book called Hope Coaching. So in a sense, I think that always my sessions will start with that hope coaching, to get people to open up that this is possible. And once they're there, truly that's 30% of the work. And then we just talk about how are you going to notice this in your life? What thing today would make the most impact if it were shifted? What do you want to feel more of? What do you want to feel less of? And then, we maybe do some conversational hypnosis if we hadn't already, which likely we already are doing that a little bit because it's so kind of subtle and just a normal organic way of what we should be doing when we talk to people, which is actively listening and reframing. And then maybe some guided imagery or some other sort of like um, experience a shift, because if we're doing something that's more interactive, then that even could happen on a walk. I've done some clients where we go for a walk. I think I told you already, I used to serve tea, and I'll probably serve tea again with my clients. um, but with that movie Get Out that came, have you seen that movie, that like satirical horror movie?
I haven't seen it, but I certainly have heard the title, and I think I've seen some previews, but I've never seen the whole movie.
I watched it once. I mean, I thought it was a good movie. It was kind of scary. I don't like scary movies, but it wasn't super scary. But there's a hypnotist, and she serves tea, and she's the villain. And I'll just leave it at that. And anybody who wants to watch it can go watch it. So I serve tea and am a hypnotist, but people already might feel nervous about hypnosis, or sometimes people are nervous about their change. They sometimes they walk in and occasionally burst into tears, which is why I have tissues everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, let it out. This is going to be one of the last times that you experience that low state of your stuff. So let's take this as an opportunity. You don't need to perform for me. And
Hmm.
I let them know too that they don't need to tell me their life stuff. Like their brain is all too familiar with the perspectives of their life stuff. So I just want to have a brief conversation, and then I want to shift things so that they can feel incrementally better. And this kind of answers what you were asking, like, why isn't it everywhere? It's because we change in increments. And then before the brain can even recognize what's going on, it's like we're different. But it doesn't have this contrast of what's different. It just is experiencing what is.
So, what's something that you wish people would know more about when it comes to hypnosis, or even just your practice in general? People are walking around today. I'm assuming that they have some sort of preconceived notion or some sort of belief in what hypnosis is and maybe what it isn't.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, what now, running a successful business for almost a decade,
Mhm.
it's a pretty amazing, successful thing that you've done and created, and you're living your truth. So,
Right.
if someone's listening to this and they think, well, I still don't know, I still don't understand it. What do you wish people would know more about, I mean, in terms of the practice or how it can help them specifically?
I want more people to be hypnotists. And I've said this to my clients for years. When we're talking at maybe like a follow-up session, and they're like, wow, I can't believe this really worked. Like I feel incredibly better. I wish I would have done this forever ago. And I'm like, I know we need more hypnotists out here so that people are understanding, because I'll go back to that massage therapy analogy. There's so many massage therapists. And if anybody's ever out there gotten one, they know that there might be some practitioners they prefer over other, or there's a whole range of different techniques.
Hmm.
Just like with hypnotists, use a couple for maybe different areas that you have, or try some on, or study it yourself. You don't have to have a hypnotist in order to be doing hypnotherapy in your life. Self hypnosis is something you can definitely apply. I tell people the role of having a supportive professional is kind of the difference of going to the gym and working out, and having a personal trainer there to support you. Like the personal trainer is going to really help spot you and make sure that everything's working in the alignment, because they have that expertise. But their goal is not the dependency. Their goal is to motivate you or encourage you or help you understand how to take these techniques and do them on your own.
Hmm.
A little different than, being at the gym. Hypnosis and mental training isn't something that you'd have to do, a couple of times a week. You almost do it, and like you've said several times, Troy, because the brain loves learning, it learns how to do it and it does it then behind the scenes, because you can only have a couple of things in front of the scenes in your brain at any given time.
So I let the cat out of the bag earlier with your website, moderndayhypnosis.com. Is that the best place that people can reach you?
Yeah, sure. Check out the website. I mean, I would love for you guys to connect on Co-Creation Nation with me. So like I was saying about wanting more hypnotists out there, I've been educating people as hypnotists and about to launch the online school so that more people can do hypnosis certification. Troy, I know you'll be teaching, the techniques that you have. It's really about not having this expectation that somehow I'm this, you know, special person and only I could be a hypnotist. Like anybody out there could be doing this. And I would really hope that someone finds this interesting enough to at least check into doing it. Because I can tell you, I am 1,000% impassioned by what I do. And I can't even believe how exciting it is. I get to be creative. I get to learn. I get to help people. I own a business, so I make my hours, even though I work like 7 to 7, almost 7 days a week. I just love it. And I can tell you guys, and I don't mean to discredit any conventional path. No, I was just frustrated because at the time that I needed support, I was shown a very limited option, and that option didn't work for me. And um, the things that I do now to support myself are in alignment with my values. Like I'm
Mhm.
super granola. I don't even know why I am like this or how I came to be like this. I mean, I'm eating chia seeds and like algae and use coconut oil on my face. Um, yeah. So
That's good. I mean, that means that you're living your truth. You're living the natural way, your holistic way. You're living your life in a way that makes you happy, and I think that's what's most important. Everyone should live their life on their terms. Everyone should live the life that makes them most happy. And if eating chia seeds and running a kick butt hypnosis practice and
mhm.
putting coconut oil on your face makes you happy, Lauren, I say do more of that. And I know for me, like for my practice, my greatest reward is always seeing the change. It's like I get a front row seat to see how someone can come in and completely change their life. And for me, that's a wonderful, rewarding experience. That's why I do what I do. And
Mhm.
so when you have that kind of rewarding experience, when someone comes to you and like you said, right, they come to you first and they start breaking down and crying, maybe from the first, meeting with you. And now, you've had a couple sessions with them and now they're coming in and they're having this air about them where they're more confident or more assured or whatever it might be, right?
Mhm.
It's like that moment is such a special moment, not just to witness and experience as a practitioner, but also to understand that that person, that individual, that client is also, realizing their own true personal power and they're stepping into their own creative and positive change. I mean, isn't that such a rewarding experience for you to witness?
It's hard to put to words, but yes, absolutely rewarding. I mean, in a way, entirely humbling. And one of my mentors early on uh, told me about, this the way of not getting burnt out. If we're working as empaths, or however you want to like call what we're doing as far as being human service providers at an energetic level, is to be disconnected from the outcome. And I remember even before I had heard that from this mentor, then intuitively, I mean, I had a really tough case come through the door. Sometimes I get some emails and things from clients, and they're really personal as far as the traumas that they've had in their life. Because for most people, they've tried so many things, they don't know what else to do. They're like, can you help me? And I'm not going to turn somebody away. I'm not going to work outside of my scope of practice. So I have an amazing Rolodex of people that can be supported in multiple ways. But because you and I can work with symptoms, and fear and other like distress states like that, then I can support those things. And when that person came in, because that was my first really tough case, I just intuitively had this idea to, sort of ask the universe for some support, like, hey, I don't know if I have everything I need. Can I get a little bit more? And I'm now Reiki attuned, and so it was almost like at that time I had thought like let me do some Reiki, but I didn't know at all what that word was or that I was doing that thing. And then the mentor says, let go of the outcome, and that's exactly what I did. I was like gave her some support and then detached and just said, now you have everything you need, but I'm not entangled because I'm supporting you to move up. And so if I step down to where you are, then we're both just down, in that hole. So I've got to your best support, be protected with where I am. And I've always got an up place that I can move to.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fascinating interview with you, and I'm so happy that you've come on here and opened up. I mean, it's one thing to be a co-host and things like this, right? And bring on other guests and ask them questions. But I'm so happy that we did this, because now people can really understand who Lauren Hall is, as a person, as an individual, what what her passion is, how she operates on a day-to-day basis, how her business is successful, and it's just, and how she's helping and empowering clients every single day. So I want to, from the bottom of my heart, Lauren, thank you for opening up and explaining your process and expressing your truth, because I think it's a very powerful story. And I know it's gonna wind up resonating with a lot of our audience members and our listeners.
Well, I hope that it's a valuable conversation for them to take in, and that it wasn't just me monologuing about my life. And Troy,
No, it
you're
was
the
wonderful.
best co-host. And I don't mean to sound like I'm at a high demand, but I've had interviewees, and I've never opened up in that way to them about the diagnosis and that part of my life, because there are stigmas around mental health, and I have a passion now to be supporting behavioral wellness, because I recognized that when I needed it supports some people, but I didn't want to stay stuck in that diagnosis. Like I think I was at one time taking like 15 pills a day, because this one combats that one's side effects and etc. And I just felt not myself. And now I'm 100% myself. And I'm so glad that I could share a little bit about who that is with you today.
Perfect. Well, we're certainly happy as well. So make sure, gang, that you send Lauren Hall, my wonderful co-host, some love over on Co-Creation Nation. Let us know how her story resonated with you. And then, of course, make sure you also make your way over to our website, our podcast website, hypnosisinaction.com, where you can opt in and get some free hypnosis videos. I have a video, or no, I'm sorry, not a free video. See, I'm so excited. Some free hypnosis audios. Yeah, some free hypnosis audios. I have an audio over there. The great Lauren Hall has an audio over there. Again, these are stress-busting audios that you can use anytime, of course, not when you're driving your car down the road. But again, these are just things that we like to present, like they're tools, right, where anyone can use them to better your life moving forward. So again, co-creationnation.com on Facebook. Make sure you give us a follow and give us a thumbs up over there, and hypnosisinaction.com to get your hypnosis audios. Lauren Hall, thank you so much for your time today. This has been awesome. I certainly learned some things that I did not know about you, and that's why we did this.
Well, we'll see if we stay tuned if we continue on, or if Troy's like peacing out now.
No, I'm in it for the long haul, man. Are you kidding?
All right, guys, and we'll be back soon with a deep dive into Troy's mind and life and how he's ended up being the awesome hypnotist that he is at virtual hypnosis today. So Troy and I have separate businesses, and we just do this joint venture together because we want to help you guys co-create your best life. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Bye.
See ya.